All right, my new agent friends, you are in for a treat. I have Miss Genie Field, who is amazing. And we were just having a great conversation about what does it take to be successful as a new agent. Now, warning, warning, there is no BS that's going to come out of this lady's mouth. So grab your pen and let's get after it. So Miss Field, broker extraordinaire, what is it that you think some of these brand new agents coming into 2021, what's a couple of things that they need to be thinking about doing? Smack them around. Let's get them successful right away. What's the first thing that these guys need to do?
And it's the first thing that's been pretty much for my entire career. And it's really about looking at your career as a business. Being productive means that you're productive as you're running a business. And so as somebody who's done this, as long as I've done this, the way I look at all of this for new agents is, get up, suit up, go to work every single day, be the best you can be every single day, and engage the processes that are necessary for any successful business. And in real estate, the problem we have is very often, because we have a choice, there's no theoretical person holding you accountable to your daily activities. That's why the failure rate is so high in real estate. And it's been that way since I started. And I frankly think it's worse today than it's ever been, because everybody thinks like, I'm going to make a gazillion dollars and I'm just going to show up and I'm going to be charming and it's going to be easy. Well, it's not easy.
Yeah. And we are most likely projected to see a lot of new agents come into the business, 2021, 22, 23. So if you're watching this, yes, we're talking to you, because the big commission checks, it looks glamorous. So let's get into this. So what do you mean by treat this like a business, or, get dressed, show up like a pro? Can you break that down for us?
For as long as I've been doing this in leadership, and I've been in leadership in my industry since 1989, and as long as I've been in leadership in my industry, it's always been this one issue. You have to look at this as though, if you're not looking at how many deals do I have to make happen, at what number for me to make the goals that I've set for myself, it's going to be a challenge. And by the way, if you don't have goals and don't understand the purpose for your being in the industry at all, it's going to be a challenge. And that goes back my entire career. As long as I've been doing this, the failure rate, and I hate that word, is always challenging for me. Failure rate or failing is always a challenge for me, because I really, truly, at the core of my being, believe no one needs to fail. But if you don't engage, then you're going to fail. And the failure rate is 15 to 18% within 2 years. Well, why is that? It's because they didn't suit up, go to work every day, get up, be there, be present, do the job all the time, have a plan, have a schedule, stick to those things. It is paramount. And you're right, Patrick, we're going to see a lot of people go into the business over this period of time because everybody thinks it's a fast check. It's not a fast check. But then we're also going to see a lot of people out of the business because it's harder. I mean, I've had agents that I've known personally who said to me, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I don't like working that hard. Can you imagine? Those words have been said to me.
Yeah, I understand.
And so if you don't have a goal, if you don't have a business plan, and one of the things I want to share, because it's really paramount to this question in terms of success in real estate as a baby agent, is that you have to look at this as you're in corporate America, because effectively you are you incorporated. And I know your brother has said those words. So you are you incorporated. You incorporated means that you need to know what has to happen for you to be able to make the money you want to make. What transactional numbers do you have to make the money you want to make? What contact numbers do you have to make that money? And where I have seen in my career as in leadership is that's where the failure lies, is there's no plan. Or if there is a plan, there's nobody following the plan. Or if there's no schedule, or if there's a schedule, nobody's following the schedule. Or if there's a day-to-day plan to do specific things on a day, that's not being followed either. And that's what I've seen in my personal career in leadership and real estate, which is quite frankly heartbreaking at some level to me, because I truly do believe anyone can do this who decides to.
Yes, I agree. Good. What else? So, we've got the leadership. I would say that there's also an ingredient here where this is why I say you're the broker that everybody wishes they had, because there's a lot of leaders who maybe didn't instill enough confidence to the new agent for them to actually follow it. And so there's a segment of the market which loses a little bit of their lackluster, and then they fall into a little bit of a slump, and we're off running. So any advice on what these new agents should be looking for in a great leader? Is there any simple advice to help these guys out? Because everybody's going to make the statement that, hey, we've got the best company, we've got the best training, we've got the best culture, we've got the best resources. They all say the same thing. So what would you say is some of the ingredients that they should be looking for?
Well, when you look, and I've written courses on leadership in real estate, and it's like I'm speaking Greek to the students in the room when I deliver that course. It's true. It's because I'm saying, I had one guy who I knew wanted to interview me as he was recruiting me. And I looked at him after 5 minutes. I said, would you please stop selling your company and you? Would you please tell me what you're going to do to help me? And that's where leadership fails. So if I look at what a new agent should be doing when you're interviewing, and by the way, you better interview your broker. Don't just say, well, they offered me a job. Yay, I'm going. Well, no. That's not it. Interview your broker. And I look at my own personal career, and I look at what did I do? And so some of the things that I did, I actually answered that recruits' questions before they were asked. I knew what they wanted to do, and I had to ask the questions to get them to tell me the purpose behind it. Real estate without a goal, and your brother is perfect at this, real estate without a goal and a reason means that you're going to struggle, because if you don't have something that's your primary driver to get you to suit up and go to work every day, it's going to be almost impossible. So I, as an interviewer of new agents coming into my world, was, I would answer their questions before they were ever asked. I would solve their problems before asked. I would handle their objections before they had them. And so it was all dealt off the table. I asked them questions to help them focus on the purpose behind the reason for going into real estate. And those questions were often tough questions. I clarified their expectations. I made sure that those expectations are realistic. I had one person years ago said, I just want to work in this town because the average sale price is $2 million, and all I need to do is sell a couple of houses and it'll be great. Well, there was no component to how do I do that to getting paid. And there's this massive window of time and energy between those two things. As a leader in an office, which is very important to you as the recruit interviewing, how is your broker going to help you achieve the goals that they help you set? So a good leader is going to sit down with you and help you set your goals. They're going to help you set your business plan. They're going to work with you consistently to make sure that you're doing the things you need to do. And then, and this is the thing everybody hates, that good leader will hold you accountable to what you said you were going to do and what you said you wanted to achieve. That's what good leadership does. And it's a time-consuming process for that good leader. And then we discussed coaching, we discussed accountability, we discussed if you don't do this, what's going to happen, consequences. All of those things together is what a good leader should do. So as a baby agent, if you walk into an office and, hey, we're the best and we've got this and we're wonderful and I'm great and I'm really awesome and I'm here for you, and they're never there, and there is nothing, and it's all fake, and you've now joined them, where are you going to be?
Yeah. Make the move fast, right?
Exactly.
Be quick about it.
Exactly.
That was really helpful. Good. What else? We've covered some leadership, we covered how to treat the business like a business. What else do you recommend these baby agents, as you say, to really kind of start this thing on the right foot and create a successful career?
I think the most important thing is realistic expectations. That doesn't mean don't believe you can. Just believe that it takes work and it takes focus. And my whole issue with managing time, I love teaching time management, because my whole thing about managing time is that you're only in control of one 24-hour period at a time.
Mhm.
You got nothing. Tomorrow's not here yet. Yesterday's over. Can't fix yesterday unless you totally failed. And then just don't do what you did yesterday again today. And then don't do it tomorrow. But you've got one day that you can control. And so what I have taught most of my career in leadership is wake up, suit up, be the best you that one day. And at the end of the day, look at, did I do it? What were my goals? Did I hit them for that day? 24 hours, make that day the day. And then at the end of the day, did you do it? If not, why didn't you? What happened? What prevented you from achieving the thing you said you were going to do? And then do that again tomorrow. That's the challenge. Baby agents have no concept. And of course, as we know, Patrick, we get our licenses, and nothing that we deal with in getting a license has anything to do with the practice of selling real estate.
Right, right.
And so without training, without the right leader, it's going to be really hard to hit your goals. But you also have to understand the purpose for the goal. And I know Tom talks about this, and I love that, because it's the same. I've talked about it for years. If there's not a driver, is it fun to pick up the phone and call people? No. Do you have a great time to be rejected? No. So your driver will be, I'm doing this for this purpose. And if I do all the things I should do the way I should do them, I'm going to have this thing that I want to have. And so one of the things I've said for years is that agents as a whole, generalization, don't do the one thing that if they did it every day, they'd have what they want to have. I want to have that, but oh crap, that means I have to do these things I don't want to do. I don't want to call people. I don't have to be charming today. I don't have any charming to work with. Oh crap, I'm not doing it. Let me roll over and watch another television show or turn on whatever. And therefore, they become part of that statistic, which is very challenging. And quite frankly, a great frustration for me is the issue of the leader with feet on the ground.
Meaning the leader with the expectation set? Is that what you're
Correct.
referencing? Yes.
Being the leader that they should be. If you make commitments as a leader to a new agent, then you better do them.
Mhm.
And a new agent should ask the right questions of that leader and say, this, I believe, I trust this person. I believe this person has my best interest at heart. This person has made commitments to me. And quite frankly, I got to share with you that that leader should be held as accountable to the agent, as the agent should be held accountable to the leader.
Yes, that was very well said, by the way. I like that a lot.
I'm also speaking Greek because I also know that most of the rest of the real estate community just doesn't get it. And one of the things you and I have talked about in our conversations is the leadership is all about getting the agent to make the next deal. Well, my position is this: if you're a great leader, then they're going to make the next deal because you're giving them the tools they need to have to be able to achieve that goal. You know, I shared with you earlier, I looked at it as a formula. I focused on business in school. And so for me, it was a magical formula. If I hire the right person, I teach them how to be successful, I help them to set their goals, I help them be accountable to those goals, then everybody wins because they make more money. And when they make more money, the company makes more money. And it's a trifecta. It's perfect. But that's where the challenges lie. I believe if leadership does what leadership should do, then the next transaction for that new agent will be there.
Yep. That's very well put. Good. What else? We know, and I think you really point to something, and I want to make sure that everybody's crystal clear. There is a lot of this, this kind of surface level of this is the best place. We're going to help you be successful. Look at all these, flashing lights and how pretty and cool and things are. And what you're saying is it's really about how they are directly going to support you week after week to be able to help you achieve your goals is what you're really, that key ingredient. Okay. So I love it. Good.
May I speak to that? Because I will share with you, when I interviewed people, I was hiring at one point in time I had to turn an office around. And by the way, remember that formula I just shared with you? I arrived at this office in that particular year, they had 168,000 in profit. That ticked me off. I said, well, we have to fix this. And so I started recruiting. Within 2 years, we were just under $1 million because I hired the right people, held them accountable, helped them grow. Everybody made more money. But the process really happened in the interview, Patrick. I never talked about the company until the very end. In fact, I never talked about the company or me until I believed that they were a right fit for my culture. So I interviewed, I asked the right questions. I actually have a script that I used that script. And then when I walked through the end of the script, it got to probably question 9 or 10 or 11 before I even brought up what the company could give them. Or even, it was about, who are you? What are your beliefs? And do I have to unwind some of those? And then, do you fit with my culture? And culture is such a profoundly important thing in the industry. And then if you did, okay, then I'm going to say, well, let me tell you about all the great things that this company has. And let me share with you all the stuff that we do and blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't until 2/3 of the way into the interview.
Nice. Nice.
Very different.
Good. What else do you have on your list of things that you would recommend to a brand new agent today for success?
I think that you have to really sit down, and this goes back to what I started with, Patrick. You have to really sit down and say, how many and this is something your brother teaches you do as a coach. I know that about you both. I know that about the company. If you don't know what you need to make in order for you to have what you need to have, then you're launching from the level of failure before you start day one. And so historically, as a trainer, I would ask a group of people, how much money you want to make? Well, I want to make 100 grand. I don't know why that number is always the magic number, but it seems to always be the number. So I want to make $100,000. Okay, great. Is that net or gross? That's the first time they don't know the answer. What do you mean net or gross? I don't know that. Well, what's the difference between gross and net? Gross is what the big check is. Net is what you get to keep. The end.
Yeah.
And agents don't know that. And when I've done an exercise with them, they very often just don't even have a clue about what are their expenses. And every time you deduct something from that gross number, where's your bottom line? If you're not fueling the savings, if you're not fueling your business, if you're not reinvesting in your company, then where are you? And by the end of the day, when people were at 100 grand, I can't live on what's left. Well, that's because you weren't planning, because you didn't know. You didn't know what your gross number needed to be able to get you to a place where it made sense for you. And that in itself is, I think, for a baby agent, one of the most profoundly important things to begin with. And then take that and say, okay, here's my number. How many houses do I need to sell to get to that number?
Yep. Yep. And for all of us wonderful people in California, if you don't do those things too, you can make some good money and then deal with taxes as well. And that's really exciting, right?
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
And then you got a whole nother level of motivation. Right?
Yeah. That's a whole separate conversation.
That is. Yeah. Well said. So what else? What else do these guys need to know to be successful within that first year? Right. What else do they need help with?
I think let's go back to treating our companies, our businesses like businesses. And one of the things I started doing years ago was teaching people to look at themselves as being you incorporated, corporate America. And if I'm corporate America, and I joke about this, and it's kind of funny at this point in life, but I made this up, 30 years ago, where I say, if I decide I want to start manufacturing a product, I'm going to and I joked about, forgive me, I'm going to manufacture widgets and I'm going to sell them to Walmart and Target. Okay. I'm just That's what I did. I made this up because it made everybody laugh. Well, if I'm going to manufacture a thingy, call it that, I need to know all the pieces that are involved in manufacturing that thing, right? I need to know what my building is going to cost me, overhead overall, staffing, medical, creating the device that makes the widgets. And then I need to know what it's going to cost me to sell it to. What am I going to pay my agents that are selling the widgets so we get picked over somebody else? And then there's cost of delivery, blah, 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 blah. And then after that comes profit. So I need to know, at what cost do I need to sell my widgets to Walmart or Target or JC Penney or whomever for me to make profit? The goal is always profit. And when you drill it down and we don't look at it that way, this is back to the gross or net at some level, and we don't understand it from that perspective, we don't look at it as a business, that's where we struggle. And as you said, Patrick, you know, I can get a $10,000 check. How much do I get to keep of that check?
Yep. I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot said in there. And there's something also that I was listening to too. There is also a little bit not only know your business, but also know the product.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
I'm going to touch something, because you are recognized as an educator and a trainer for the National Association of Realtors for CAR, and you get asked to do, you know, professional training for the real estate industry all across the country.
Mhm.
So talk to us a little bit about the new agent, about, you know, education and training and how they can really gain more confidence as a new agent.
And I appreciate that question, and I'm very excited every single time I get to teach something. And I was just in New Mexico teaching the buyer representation, accredited buyer representation course, which is a 2-day course from the National Association of Realtors. And I will share with you that I started out on this one issue, and I've got to say this out loud because it's a thing. I really do believe that if we're not really good at creating a value proposition, we're going to have a problem getting paid.
Great.
That's a very short sentence, but it's there. And so as an educator, I have, and I shared this with you once before, I spend on average between 2 to 3 hours a week studying.
Mhm.
I believe that as an educator for the National Association of Realtors, I better know my stuff. And so before I walk into a class, like as doing the ABR class in New Mexico, I spent a tremendous amount of time just looking at commission comments. Who's doing what? Who are these people? What are the economists saying? What are the trends looking at? What's the Department of Justice looking at? And where does that come in terms of our industry? And I said this to this group of people, and I had about 30 students in the room, and I said, you know, guys, are you ready? And that's the place that education will help us be the best we can be, more than it ever did. Be that go-to person, be the educated person that when you're sitting next to someone or standing in a line with someone, and by the way, wearing a realtor pin or having a realtor badge on of some kind, and they say, what do you think the market's going to do? If you can't answer that question, then you're going to have a challenge. What are you studying? And so I believe in education. I believe, and I have forever, that I believe it makes me personally a better real estate professional. But looking at how do you represent sellers in today's market? How do you deal with commission concession, which is happening? How do you deal with everybody feels that there's going to be another short sale and foreclosure moment. I'm not sure that there's going to be. In fact, I don't believe there's going to be. And this goes back to me saying, being a student, I spend time looking at this stuff from the economists, and I'm looking at numbers, and I'm seeing 67 on average nationally. 67% of the human beings that own homes in the United States of America today have equity in their home. So even if they may have gotten in trouble because of the pandemic, that doesn't mean that, and they may not be able to pay their payment, that doesn't mean they're going to lose their home to short sale.
Right.
Just means that, okay, I'm in trouble. But and this is another thing a lot of folks don't even know. If you sell your home in a pre-foreclosure because you can't pay your mortgage anymore, and there's equity, there is misconception that people think, well, I'm not going to get that money. That money goes back to the bank. No, it's your money. It's your money. And so that's the kind of stuff, being educated, getting, in my opinion, designations, learning how to be the best you. That also becomes part of marketing. That becomes, if somebody says, what's MRP mean? Well, it means I'm a designee of the Military Relocation Professional Program from the National Association of Realtors. Well, what does that mean? That means I've spent time being better educated on how to work with the military consumer, or how to work with the senior consumer, or how to help a buyer transition through the problem we're dealing with in a seller's market. That's what it's about. So I'm a believer, but then you already knew that about me.
Well, I think one of the questions is how much time, right? I feel like, you know, how much time should they dedicate to professional development, you know, kind of skill development, you know, understanding their product, understanding, you know, the asset class called real estate, contracts. I feel like there's a lack of guidance in this question, right? And so what's kind of your best advice for how much the time commitment to this equation?
Well, you're asking an excellent question, because that is exactly what I did when I was in leadership, and where I first got to spend time with you. It was what I was doing for that organization, where I was the one doing contracts class. I was the one, but I did that when I was in leadership. My largest office, I was teaching contracts every single week. I had Motivation Monday classes every single Monday morning. I had a team around me, but I would bring, if I could, and I could get the people to sign up, I would bring designation and certification classes to the company I was with to give them that additional education. But it all comes back to managing time. I believe, because I live, that if you do a great job of managing your time, and you spend 1 to 3 hours a week doing research, and then maybe add 1 or 2 designation or certification programs a quarter, and then within that you get benefits, and you look at webinars, and you stay ahead of the curve, all of that's going to help you be the best out there. And I think today, more than ever before, the best educated realtors are going to be the ones that are the most successful realtors in the industry, because I think those that are not will not know how to cope, will not know how to shift, will not know how to do what's next. They won't know.
Yeah. And I think the value proposition and the compression of commission, right? If you don't have a value proposition, then yes, you will sell homes for less money.
It is one of my, and when I was delivering that class recently, Patrick, I will share with you, I had people looking at me like I had 7 heads, because what do you mean? I said, well, have you looked at this? Well, no. Have you looked at that? Well, no. Please understand. And of course, I always bring stuff with me. And I read this article. I said, you must be prepared for commission compression. What are you going to do about it? Who's going to pay you?
Right.
Are you working for free? I have never been in a not-for-profit industry. I'm all about profit, making money. I like making money and managing my money. But if we're not staying ahead of that curve, it's going to come out and bite us. And I don't particularly care to be bitten. But one of my great frustrations, and it's been forever, is we don't do a great job of explaining what we do.
Agreed.
Agents, the consumer just thinks, well, they put a sign in a lockbox and they put it in the MLS and all is perfect. Well, no, it's not perfect. Especially today, our jobs start the moment you have an escrow. And in that, or any transaction, what part of the country you're in, the moment you have a deal between a buyer and seller for a house, that's when your job starts. And quite often, the best agents are solving problems the consumer never knew there were until after the problem has been solved. And then you say, oh, by the way, we had this little issue, but I fixed it. And oh, by the way, that's why I'm getting paid. When one of my great joys in life is when an agent, one of my clients just said to me, Ginny, I can't wait till this closes. You deserve every dime. Thank you I couldn't have done it without you. I mean, those testimonials, that's another thing. Get your testimonials. Get those people to talk about what you did, because when you're solving problems, because they don't know, when you solve a problem that they didn't even know they had, and you make it happen and we close, that's when miracles happen. That's when opportunity happens.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Good. Any parting advice for these newbies? We'll do it again, but what's the last thing you need to say to this group of, people that are coming in the industry right now, 2021, 2022, who, are seeking, great wisdom from the broker they wish they had.
Broker they wish they had. Interview your broker. Make sure you feel that that broker really can help you and that they're not being self-serving. Do the research on that broker and make sure that what are the component pieces of that population in that brokerage. Do your back end research. Forgive me, I call it market research. My daughter calls it stalking. So if you can call it whatever you like, but do the research on that broker and brokerage.
Yes.
Understand who they are and what their position is in the marketplace. Interview them and make sure that you feel at the end of the day that they're the right fit for who you are and who you want to be. And my personal thought is, if they don't help you at the end of an interview understand what your next challenge is, your tomorrow morning challenge is, then they're not the right broker. Find the broker who's going to make sure that they've got your back, but holding you accountable. It's kind of like a parental relationship.
Yep.
Don't cross the street. I told you not to go. Well, don't do what you just did because that was a dumb thing to do. That's a good broker. And that's what it needs to be. Have a plan and create a schedule and follow your managing of time and work within one 24-hour period. You've got this little block of time. And this is a thing for me, and I do it still to this day, Patrick. I start out at my beginning of my day and I know what the day is supposed to have achieved at the end of that day. I know exactly what needs to be accomplished. And at the end of the day, I'm going to confront myself and ask, did I do it? Did I achieve everything? If I didn't, why not? Be willing to confront yourself and then own whatever the hell just happened. Well, why didn't you? Because I wanted to watch the Dr. Phil show. Are you kidding me? It's okay. Watch it in reruns or DVR it.
Yeah.
Did you achieve it? And if not, why not? And then ask yourself the why not. And that's how we retrain our brains to be better at managing our time. And I've written courses on self-awareness. It's about self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. Being self-aware enough to know, well, I really screwed that day up. Let me make it better tomorrow. And you can only do that within segments, little snippets of time. Mm-hmm. So that would be those things. There were multiple things. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Genie, how could people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you, see what, training programs you're doing? What's the best path for people who want to, learn more about you?
My email address is Ginny@GenieField.com. It's pretty easy. Just don't misspell my first name's Ginni. There's no S at the end of field. Ginny@GenieField.com. And it's pretty easy to find me that way. I do have a website that posts my training programs and when they're coming up. And I get calls all the time. In fact, I had one guy call me that used to work for me back in 2002, 2003-ish. And he said, I couldn't reach the California Association of Realtors legal hotline, so I called you. I'm great. Okay, great. On the legal hotline, whatever. But no, I do enjoy answering and helping and that's who I believe I'm meant to be. So
that's exactly right.
It's a joy.
And we appreciate you for that. So thank you so much.
I think I might have gotten one or two of those calls from you. If I'm
you are my go-to call. What are you talking about? Genie, where are you?
And then I say, what'd you do now?
Exactly.
It's a joy to see you. I have tremendous respect for you. You're one of my favorite human beings, but your whole family really is. So it's just a joy to spend time with you, Patrick, always.
My pleasure. And thanks, guys. Guys, give Genie some love and have an awesome day. Thanks, Genie. We'll catch up with you later.
Okay.